I have interviewed the best athletes of our time for over 3 decades, and I have never met anyone like John. 100% unfiltered. He is completely real.
Look, I'm 67 years old. When I get out there, I'm 20 years old again.
Flip it back on. It is on.
This is better than sex. I love the sport of NHRA drag racing, and I wanted some sons to follow in my footsteps, but no sons, and the girls came along, and they always think this is a man's sport, and it's not. It's not. Half those people in the stands are women with their children, and women can prove they can do it.
When I put on the helmet, my blinders are on. That's it. That's my race time.
You can just feel all of the force that throws you back in your seat. We're pulling about 4 or 5 Gs.
When people come out for the first time, they're absolutely blown away.
You really have to be here to capture what it's like for a 10,000 horsepower machine to start up and go 330 miles an hour in less than 4 seconds. You just kind of go, wow. It's kind of like if you went to Cape Canaveral and watched the space shuttle take off.
I'll admit, for someone who had never seen it in person before, a day watching National Hot Rod Association drag racing is a bit of an out-of-this-world experience. But the uniqueness of this sport is not limited to the exotic cars and their engines that turn out unprecedented power. NHRA races are the only competitions in professional sports where men and women battle on a truly level playing field.
Shirley Muldowney, runner-up here a year ago, runner-up at the U.S. Nationals last year, has another chance to win the title. The tree goes green, they're off together. It's Shirley Muldowney pulling away, and Shirley Muldowney becomes the first woman in history to win Top Fuel Eliminator.
I said earlier in this event, Shirley Muldowney was not a great female racing car driver. She was a great racing car driver who happened to be a female. Lady, you proved it.
Thank you.
What is the most fun about this?
Winning.
Who's it going to be? Will it be Brittany? Will it be Leah? It's going to be Leah Pritchett.
I've been a champion in every category that I've ever raced in the NHRA. My goal is to be a world champion and then a multi-champion.
We believe that this is kind of the sport for the era. And a big part of that is our diversity and the fact that we have women not only competing, but women that are actually winning and compete for championships. You know, Erica Enders has back-to-back championships in pro stock. Courtney Force wins a lot in funny cars. She's a true contender. And Alexis DeJoria, she also is a true contender in funny cars. So while other motorsports have women that compete, we like to tell people, yeah, but we have women that win.
I consider us NHRA professional drivers athletes.
You have to be an athlete. You got to be able to fight the fight, and you got to love it.
Because what we do inside that car is way more than 3.6 seconds at 330 miles an hour.
Reaction time, driving the car, getting through the day, getting in a fire suit in the heat, no different than NASCAR. It's only a little bit shorter of a time. 5 or 6 seconds. That don't sound so good compared to NASCAR or IndyCar 2 or 3 hours.
It's a 4-second run, but you get out at the top end and all the drivers are winded during their interviews. It takes a lot out of you. It's almost like someone punches you in the gut and knocks the wind out of you. I mean, that's kind of the best way to describe a 4-second run here.
Not only you, your whole family seems to be involved. Tell us about that.
In the early days, they lived the roads. They come to Englishtown, ate at the ice cream shops down at the corner, you know, when they were 4 or 5 years old. It became a way of life for them. Ashley was the first. Right now, she runs our production company back in California, John Force Entertainment. She was the first to evolve into Super Comp and then into A Fuel. Super Comp's 160, A Fuel's 280, and then funny cars are 330, and of course, Top Fuel, which is the king of the sport that Brittany drives. Courtney, my youngest, right out of the box. She went right into winning races. I come to Englishtown for 15 years. I couldn't win a race. And to watch her come here, you know what I mean, and do what they've done, unbelievable, all three of them.
I obviously grew up around this sport and fell in love with it when I was a kid. I was out here sitting in the stands, you know, drinking a lemonade and watching my dad race and watching these cars go, you know, over 200-300 miles an hour. It was a family business.
When did you say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do this?
I was a kid. I was probably 7 years old, and I came out to Richmond, Virginia to watch my dad race, and that was my birthday present. My mom let me miss school and go be with my dad for the weekend. It was just me and him, and I wanted to be on the road with him, racing against him, and I told him he wasn't allowed to retire until I got to compete against him, and now I get to, and it's a lot of fun.
Courtney Force takes down her dad.
You have an excellent education that had nothing to do with drag racing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I actually went to school at Cal State Fullerton in Orange County, California, and my plan was to be a teacher. At the time, I was driving an 8-fuel dragster. I got into a super comp car at 16, and I competed there for about 3 years while earning a degree. And my plan was, I still wanted to stay involved in the sport. I knew I'd come out and be, you know, cheering my dad on and my sister on, but I didn't think I wanted to take it all the way to the top of the line. And then the opportunity came along to get into a top fuel dragster. And I said, sign me up. I've always been the adventurous type. I'll try anything once. I'll never say no. And I got into the car. You know, that fear was there. It's always there. I made my first full pass down the track, and I got out of the car on the other end, and I told my dad everything I had planned for, you know, school, teaching. I knew that I was going a different direction in life. I knew that was my path, and I knew I wanted to pursue that. I always thought that these funny car drivers and these top fuel drivers, I thought they were absolutely nuts. My father included, and now it's crazy because I'm one of them, and I absolutely love it, but I honestly think this is the greatest sport out there.
Starting it up, that's next on the Game 365. These days, drag racing has a national reach. Each year, the NHRA holds more than 20 races at locations across the country. And though it's now popular throughout the United States, the true heart and soul of the sport was developed during the middle of the last century in Southern California.
You could do it almost any time, any night, anywhere. Go take your hot rod out on the street, and that's what kind of laid down the grassroots for what is the NHRA today.
You know, the whole NHRA was founded 60 years ago by Wally Parks because in Southern California, they wanted to get all these kids off the street that were street racing.
We are in the position here of trying to conduct an amateur sport in a professional manner and still retain all of the amateur benefits, and I think that so far that a very good job has been done in this regard. And of course we have to be as concerned with the youngster who is getting his car into competition for the first time as we do with the ones who have been running for a long time and are more like the professionals. But I think that it has a very bright outlook and a tremendous future.
When we grew up, racing was all over California. Everybody had a hot rod. It was just take your mom's Chevrolet and go out to, actually it was a Buick Wildcat, take it to the racetrack.
He had a plan to, let's do it, but let's do it in a controlled environment. Let's make it as safe as possible. And that's really the whole premise of the NHRA, and it still is today, actually. We still want people to come out here and compete, even if they're just amateurs, and to do it safely.
The game, Kendall Liquid Titanium, Hemi-powered Dodge for the businessman out of Colorado. He and Clyde West have really been having fit getting this car off the starting line. If it'll cover the first 60 or 70 feet, usually it's not too bad. And everybody rides.
Racing at an NHRA event is certainly less risky than burning rubber on the streets, but that doesn't mean that everyone would consider it safe. No matter how many precautions are taken, accidents do happen, even with the most skilled drivers.
I've flown out in a few helicopters, but it's a way of life and it's what we do. We're P.T. Barnum at 300 miles an hour. The only thing is, I always said we don't have the elephants. And that's why I've always joked, the monster's out there. It can get you. It'll jump up in the front seat. It's fire. It can be parts from the race car.
Especially in a funny car, the motor's in front of you, so when it explodes, like my dad says, it explodes in your lap. So you get to see all of the chaos and everything right in front of you.
You're a little nervous watching my little sister climb in her funny car. But these cars have come a long way in safety, and I believe that they are very safe. And I know my dad has the best team that he's put behind me. They build my car, and I have complete faith in them that they're not going to send me down the track in something, you know, screwy.
I told my kids, I won't let you race without good financial backing. That's why you look at Traxxas and Monster and Peak and Auto Club and Chevrolet and Mac Tool, PPG, all these companies that allow me the money to give them a decent paycheck and let them do what they love to do is race, but to put safety with them, to put crew chiefs around them and a team of kids that will get them down the racetrack. You know what I mean? Safely.
Even though you've lived it, this is your life. When your daughter gets into a car, are you relaxed watching?
No, but I don't want them to know that I'm not.
Right.
People say, why is he always on this motor scooter scooting around? Because if anything goes wrong, I've got to get there to him.
For him to also, you know, take a deep breath and relax every time we go down the track, it also comes from that he knows that we love this and we want to do it.
We love what we do, and we're aware of the risks, and I guess you can call us crazy, but we all continue to do it because we love it.
They got a little bit of their own man in them, and that's pretty cool, but they got to protect themselves, and that's the gut ache that I live with, and that's the gut ache that I'll die with, because I'm going to stay here. Well, I'm going to stay here forever. I'll probably drop out here, Englishtown some weekend, or one of these racetracks, Bristol or somewhere, but it's what we do. We love it.
It's their life, and they realize it's risky. They realize there's huge risks involved. I mean, the Force girls saw their dad almost lose his life in Dallas in 2007, and it was hard for them. It shook them up pretty good, but they still want to be out here doing this because they absolutely love it. It's really all they know. You know, I'll give you an example. In another racing situation, Dale Earnhardt, who we all know died in the Daytona 500, I knew very well, and I interviewed him once, and I asked him, I said, why don't you just quit? I said, you got more money you could ever spend. There's no reason to keep doing it. It's risky. Why keep doing it? And he looked at me, he said, Terry, do you see that tractor over there? I said, yeah. He said, if I fall off that tractor today and it runs over me and kills me, that's a tragedy. He said, but if I die in that race car, I accepted that a long, long time ago. So, and that was only a few months actually before he lost his life. My point there is that these people understand the risks, but this is their life and they love it and they accept it. And we have done so much in the last 10 years to make these cars safer than they've ever been. And we're really proud of that fact. But it is still dangerous to drive any machine at 300 miles an hour. So, and they accept that.
The economics of the NHRA. That's next on The Game 365.
Drag racing all started for me before I was 8 years old. Even though I started when I was 8, my father was a land speed racer, and I had an older sister, 4 years older than I, and they started junior drag racing to be able to do something as a family on the weekends. You know, we worked during the week. My dad was a street racer in Southern California, and he wanted to make sure that his children, you know, were introduced to motorsports, but the safe way. And when I turned 8 on my birthday, I got to get into a junior dragster, and then since then, it's a whole open book.
For 20 years. Still excited about it?
Oh, more and more every single day. I didn't think that my passion for drag racing could actually grow from 8 years old to 14 years old to 21, and now I'm 28, and it's insurmountable.
Leah Pritchett's climb to the upper ranks of top fuel drag racing has been driven by that passion both on and off the strip. But despite a very successful young career, she needs to also pound the pavement away from the starting line for it to continue. You have to drive it. That's your bread and butter. But you also have to get sponsors. How difficult is that to combine it?
I think that makes my situation a little bit more unique than some other ones. I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that although females in motorsports are marketable, you really don't see just flocks and flocks of sponsors and companies coming on. And to be honest, to sponsor a female is you have to be a little bit cutting edge of a company and do something different.
If you were to go into an office to discuss a sponsorship, and in this office there was a female who's making that decision, and in this office it's a male making the decision, does it matter?
I would say that it does not matter because the pitch is going to be the same. However, if I'm able to conversate with a female executive VP, I'm sure that she probably has a similar story to me in the sense of probably in a male-dominated company and had to work her way up, gain the respect of her peers, and be a very strong alpha woman. And I've had situations where I'm able to connect like that.
When you first started, I'm assuming they didn't have a whole lot of sponsors. How did that come about? I'm assuming you were involved in getting sponsors involved in the sport.
My early days was starvation. Leo Stereo, he didn't hire me to race. He hired me to, I keep that car in my museum to remember where I came from. He was hiring a clown for $75 a day, and I took the job. And that money got me to the racetrack and bought me some nitro. Wendy's Hamburgers, they were looking for a pitch man. That's how I got that job. And it was crazy, but it was a way of life, calling home, collect, and saying, hey, we made it, it didn't rain out, we got our money, we didn't win again, but tell the kids there's shoes for school. That's how we live. And I'd go home and say, okay, we won the race, everybody, no school tomorrow, we're going to Disneyland.
Now you go to Disneyland when you win in a limo. So life has changed.
Yeah, well, sometimes. But life is pretty good, and I can't complain.
If you look at where my dad started, he was living in a trailer park, and Dad had polio as a kid and had a lot of struggles throughout his childhood. And he was very determined and very passionate and loved racing and, you know, fought his way into it. He didn't mention he actually got into a Wendy's costume at one point, dressed as a Wendy's girl to try and get a sponsor deal with them. He would paint, you know, sponsors on the side of his race car that he wasn't even getting paid to, you know, but he did it to put on a show to make it look like, you know, they put the money into his race car and had faith in him as a driver. And, you know, he was losing all kinds of races, on fire all the time, and then got a great team together, got sponsors on board, improved his driving, had great crew chiefs and a great team behind him, and all of a sudden he's out there winning races, setting records, winning championships. And it's pretty amazing to see how he went from having nothing to having all sorts of, from a trailer park to having a trailer park of 4 race teams, and, you know, to really see how far he's come. And you know, my sister and I try to follow in his footsteps. I mean, we try to come out here and work hard, and but I mean, it's not ever going to compare to what he went through. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of this family business, and we hope to help continue to make it grow.
Featuring the fans. That's next on the Game 365.
I find my life right here on 1,000 foot of concrete and asphalt. And some days I get mentally depressed, screwed up, like, what am I doing this at my age? And then I get here and the fans start talking, they start screaming. NHRA is a racing family.
At the end of the day, we do this for us, but we do it for the fans, because every one of those people in the stands, they're getting an escape, right? They're working during the week, but they're out here with their family and their friends having a good time, and to be able to show the people how good of a time it is, how badass of a sport we do have, that's what gets my blood pumping.
You've been involved in other sports, a lot of other sports, and you've studied them. Where's this going?
You know, it's hard to compare to other sports, but I see us at the point where we can grow and capture that younger audience, kind of the same way that I feel the NBA has. The NBA, more than any other major sport, skews to that younger audience. They have managed to capture that under 35 audience that we're trying to get, and we believe we are getting. And certainly Fox Sports is helping us do that. And we also have 4 races that are going to be on the Fox network, on Big Fox. We're very excited about that. That's a first for our sport. That has never happened in the history of the NHRA, where we were on live on network television. And we believe that's going to bring so many more new eyeballs to our sport, and we hope young viewers that we can get involved in the sport and grow with.
The women, how important are they in this type of racing as far as being out front?
Well, they're hugely important to us. I mean, they're really going to move the needle for us. What we want to be able to do is capture the fact that young girls come out here with their mothers or their dads, and they see these women competing, and these women stand at the ropes in their pits, and they give autographs, and that's what's going to grow the sport for us.
Do you see drag racing evolving bigger and bigger?
Absolutely, I hope so. That's what we're all fighting for, is to, continue to grow the sport.
I think it's unique to think when 2 sisters start their day together, it starts with a cup of coffee, and then it starts with putting on a fire suit and a helmet. But it's incredible. You can't find a sport like this anywhere else.
The NHRA is on an upswing, and to be a part of that is something very special, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm doing everything I can to make it work.